welcome back to my channel, or for those of you who are watching for the first time, welcome to my channel. On this channel, I create videos about the college and graduate school application processes so that you guys know everything you need to in order to get into the colleges of your dreams. In today's video, I'm going to be compiling the top 10 tips for getting into college. Now, I've made a bunch of videos, they're all linked down in the description box below, where I talk in detail about each part of the college application process. But in this video, I'm essentially just handpicking what I think are the 10 best ways to ensure that you'll get into the colleges that you guys want to go to. So let's start with tip number 1. Tip number 1 is tell a story with your application. If you've listened to my other videos, this is a theme that I harp on over and over and over again. And essentially what I mean by this is every part of your application should work cohesively together to show the admissions officer who you are as an applicant. Your supplement essays, your Common App essay, even your activity list should all work together to shape a vibe or persona of you as an applicant. You know, that might be someone who is really service-minded, loves volunteering, and plans to study things that will enable you to give back to your community. Or perhaps you're really interested in leadership and sports, and so many of your activities and many of the themes of your essays talk about those topics. My second tip is submit an application that only you could have submitted. You should be able to take your name and demographic information off of your application, and someone who knows you well should easily be able to identify that that is your application. It should scream you, whether that's through your writing style, whether through content you talk about throughout your application, or whether that's the list of activities you've participated in. If someone else could slap their name on your application and it be just as believable for them as it is for you, that means that you've not injected enough personality and enough uniqueness into your application. At the end of the day, having a really unique application is going to help you stand out from your fellow applicants and give you an advantage in the application process. My next suggestion is apply as early as you can. So in one of the videos I made, I talked about the differences between early decision, early action, and regular decision. These are all different timelines during which you can apply to college. And as I said in that video, there is a huge advantage to applying either early decision or early action because your odds of getting accepted to that college increase. If you wait until the regular decision round, you still very well might get accepted. However, the acceptance rates are lower. And so if you've identified the schools that you want to go to and you've gotten a great head start on your application, by all means submit that application during either the early decision or the early action rounds so that you maximize your chances of getting into the schools you want to. My next tip is write informally. Now, in no way am I saying you should disregard grammar rules or use inappropriate language throughout your essays, but you should make an attempt to try to write informally so that your personality shines through. Your essays should not sound like you're submitting them to an English class. Instead, they should almost sound like you're writing an email or a long text to a good friend. They should be infused with your spirit and your energy and even the way you talk to other people around you, instead of sounding like something you've rehearsed a ton of time and used a dictionary to help you write. And so although it can be hard to kind of break free from the structure and the rules that we learned in English class all throughout high school, if you can kind of try to be a little more creative and a little more personal in your writing, it's really going to make the admissions officer understand you best as an applicant. Tip number 5 is apply to schools that fit you. So there's a ton of schools out there. There's large state schools that have just about any program you could dream of. There are really, really tiny liberal arts schools that maybe emphasize good writing programs or social studies. And then there are tech schools, which gear all students towards some sort of career in a tech field. And it's really important when you're choosing the colleges to apply to that you choose ones that fit your own personal goals. Let's say you love Georgia Tech, but you hate technology and you have no interest in having any kind of tech job. That might not be the best choice school, and the admissions officers are going to realize that the fit is not great, and so your odds of getting into that school are not going to be great overall. Instead, your odds of getting in are going to be much, much higher if you apply to schools that make sense given the rest of your application. Let's say you love writing and you've written a novel and creative writing is your top hobby in your activity section. A small school with a really strong writing core would be an excellent fit for you, and the admissions officers are going to recognize that. And so before applying to a school just because your older sibling went there or just because they have really good football games, make sure you're actually learning about what that school offers and ensure that what they're offering fits what you're looking for. My next tip is ask people to check over your application. If you've done a lot of your own work during high school, it can be really easy just to follow suit with this and kind of write your essays and fill out your application and not really ask anyone else to check it over. However, this is one time that having a second set of eyes can be really useful. Have your parents read over your Common App essay. Perhaps have an English teacher, even a history teacher, look over your application. Just so that if they see any red flags or they see any mistakes, they can point them out to you. Because this is not something you want to take your chances on. This is something you want to know you have done your absolute best on and you have the most polished version. And sometimes a second person looking over things can help to ensure that that is the case. My next tip is apply broadly. I have seen so many instances where students are really strong applicants but end up getting into very few or even no colleges because they did not apply to a broad enough range of schools. Even if you're a star student, don't just apply to Ivy League schools. And if you're not the best student, don't just apply to schools that are far beyond what is a match for you. Instead, make sure you're sticking to a good balance of safety, target, and reach schools so that even if your reach schools don't work out, you'll have plenty of other options to fall back on. Tip number 8 is make the best use of the space you have in your application. This means that when you're describing your activities in your Common App, you are using as many words as possible to talk about what you've done during those activities. This might mean making sure that you write every optional essay in the supplement essay category so that you can tell the colleges as much as you possibly can about what you've done. And if there's an optional interview and you think you're someone who will do well in an interview, take advantage of that as well. Because essentially the purpose of all of this is to show the college as many things as you can about yourself and about your potential as a student at their college. And so take all the opportunities you have to do that so they can see everything there is to see. My next tip is be bold and confident, but not arrogant. I've had students in the past who think that the best approach to college admissions is being super humble. And humility is a wonderful trait, but it's not necessarily the best trait in the college application process. It's really important that throughout this process, throughout your activity section, throughout your essays, throughout your interviews, that you are presenting as best as you can the accomplishments you've had over the course of high school. And be bold and talk about them openly and talk about them confidently. You've worked maybe 4 years, maybe longer on achieving these goals, and so you have full right to talk about them proudly. However, don't be too proud because nobody likes an applicant who's overconfident and arrogant. However, I think if you can find that sweet spot between confident and overly arrogant, you're going to be able to best showcase the things that you've done throughout high school, and the admissions officers will take note and appreciate that you've told them everything. And my last tip is keep your focus on your end goal. I'm going to be honest, the college application process is long and tiring and daunting. And you will reach points more than likely throughout the process where you just want to give up or you want to stop putting in your 100% best. And in order to avoid doing that, I recommend that you keep focusing on the reason you're doing all of this in the first place. It's not just to get that acceptance letter, and it's not to just make your parents proud, and it's honestly not even just to go to college. The reason you're going to college, hopefully, is so you can have a long and fruitful career in whatever field you choose. And so when you're on essay number 10, or when you're on the 12th draft of your Common App essay and you feel like you can't write anymore, remember what your end goal in all of this is. Think about the career that you one day hope to have, and hopefully that will provide a little bit of motivation to make it through the tougher parts of the college application process. And those are my 10 tips. They're not the only things you should know when embarking on the college application process, but there are some tips that I think are most helpful to think of while you're going through the process. And again, as I mentioned in the beginning, if you guys want more information about the different parts of the process, about writing your Common App essay, about interviewing, filling out your Common App, even making a school list, check out all the videos I have linked in the description box below because I go into detail about all of those things. And if you guys have any questions about this video or about anything relating to college applications, please either comment down below or send me an email. My email is in the description box. If you learned anything at all from this video, please be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel for more tips and tricks about the college application process. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.